I was sitting in our cozy living room one ordinary Thursday afternoon, the sun pouring in through the window and casting warm rays across the floor. I had just settled down with a cup of coffee when something caught my eye, an alert from my wife's messaging app. Normally, I wouldn't pry, but the notification sat there, tempting me like a siren's song. My curiosity got the better of me, and I found myself instinctively reaching for her phone, which was lying unattended on the coffee table. The screen lit up as I swiped to unlock it, revealing a thread of messages between my wife, Beth, and her fitness trainer, Alex. I had always trusted Beth implicitly, believing we had built a solid foundation of love and respect over the years. But the moment my eyes scanned the messages, that trust began to unravel. The conversation was lighthearted at first, filled with emojis and playful banter. But as I delved deeper, my heart began to race, and an unsettling knot formed in my stomach. There it was, clear as day, Beth joking about how Alex helps her reach new heights, and how she couldn't have done it without his special attention. The implication of their exchanges hit me like a freight train. My mind raced as I processed what I was reading. A wave of disbelief washed over me, followed by anger and betrayal. My heart felt heavy, constricted by the weight of this newfound knowledge. The room began to close in around me as the reality of the situation sank in. I felt a rush of adrenaline surge through my veins. This wasn't just an innocent exchange, it was a confession of sorts, an admission of something I had never even considered. I sat there, frozen, my coffee forgotten and cold in my hand, as my mind spiraled through a labyrinth of emotions. How long had this been going on? Had I been blind to the signs? My stomach churned at the thought of my wife being intimate with another man. I couldn't just sit there and stew in my anger. I needed answers. I needed to confront her. Taking a deep breath, I put her phone back on the table and stood up, feeling as if I had just stepped off a roller coaster. My heart was still racing, but I was determined to get to the bottom of this. I walked down the hallway to our bedroom, where I found Beth lounging on the bed, scrolling through her phone. The sight of her, so relaxed and unaware, twisted the knife of betrayal deeper into my heart. "Beth," I said, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging inside me. "We need to talk." She looked up, surprise flickering across her face. "What's wrong?" she asked, her tone light, but I could see the slight tension in her shoulders. She knew something was off. I sat down on the edge of the bed, trying to find the right words. "I came across some messages between you and Alex," I started, watching her expression shift from surprise to confusion. "The way you two talk. It doesn't seem like just a trainer-client relationship." Her face paled as she processed my words. "What do you mean?" she asked, feigning innocence, but the way she bit her lip gave away her anxiety. I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "You joked about how he helps you reach new heights. It sounds intimate. Are you having an affair with him?" Her eyes widened, and for a moment, silence enveloped us. I could see her mind racing, searching for an excuse, a way out of this mess. "It's not what you think," she finally said, her voice trembling slightly. "We're just close because of the workouts. He's supportive." Supportive? I echoed, my voice rising involuntarily. "Beth, this isn't just about support. It's about trust. And right now, I feel like you've shattered that trust." She sat up, her defenses rising. "You're overreacting. We have a friendship, that's all. You know how I am about my fitness, and Alex is just helping me stay motivated." "Friendship?" I repeated, incredulity lacing my tone. "This doesn't feel like friendship to me. I trusted you, Beth. I thought we had something real." As I looked into her eyes, searching for any hint of honesty, I saw only panic and guilt. Her words were slippery, like water slipping through my fingers, and in that moment, the realization hit me: she wasn't being truthful. The world around me felt like it was crumbling. The life I thought I had, the love I believed in, was collapsing like a house of cards. "Do you love him?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The question hung heavy in the air, and for the first time, her silence spoke volumes. The truth was laid bare before us, and I could feel the weight of it suffocating me. I don't know," she finally admitted, her voice breaking. "I never meant for it to go this far." I stood up abruptly, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't bear to look at her any longer. I felt a mix of rage and sorrow, a cocktail of emotions swirling within me. "You need to decide what you want, Beth. I can't keep living in this lie." With that, I walked out of the room, leaving her behind. Knowing that everything had changed in an instant. My heart ached, and the realization of betrayal lingered in my mind like a dark cloud. I was left standing at the precipice of my emotions, unsure of how to move forward. After that devastating conversation with Beth, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I felt a deep ache in my chest like a heavy stone had settled there, and it was accompanied by a burning rage that seemed to consume me from the inside out. I had never thought I'd find myself in this position, facing betrayal from the one person I'd trusted most in the world. But rather than allowing myself to spiral into despair, I decided I needed a plan, a way to reclaim my dignity and teach her a lesson she wouldn't soon forget. As the hours passed, I mulled over various ideas in my mind, each more dramatic and confrontational than the last. But deep down, I knew that I didn't want a reaction born from sheer anger. I wanted my revenge to be strategic, methodical, and, above all, public. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, not just in our private lives but in front of our friends and family. The idea of exposing the truth in front of everyone was exhilarating, and the more I considered it, the more I felt a sense of power returning to me. I needed to remind Beth that her actions had consequences. I envisioned a scenario where, instead of simply confronting her in private, I would expose her betrayal in a way that would leave a lasting impression. I wanted to strip away the veneer of our happy life together, to force her to face the truth of what she had done, and to witness the reactions of those who looked up to her. In my mind, I could see it playing out like a scene from a movie, one where the protagonist finds their strength in the face of adversity. The following day, I took a deep breath and made a call to the gym where Alex trained. I feigned enthusiasm as I inquired about personal training sessions. The receptionist, cheerful and accommodating, didn't know that I was a potential client with an ulterior motive. After a brief conversation, I managed to schedule a trial session with Alex himself. My heart raced with anticipation as I hung up the phone, the taste of revenge sweetening my resolve. The next few days crawled by as I prepared myself mentally for what lay ahead. I imagined myself walking into the gym, my head held high, all while plotting how to orchestrate my little performance. I wanted this to be a show, a spectacle. The idea of Beth and Alex standing there, exposed in front of our friends, filled me with a thrill I hadn't felt in weeks. Finally, the day arrived for my first session. I stepped into the gym, the fluorescent lights casting a stark glow on the polished floors. The familiar scent of sweat and determination hung in the air, and I felt a surge of adrenaline course through me. As I approached the reception desk, my heart raced, but it was no longer from anger, it was from anticipation. I was stepping into a world where I could reclaim my narrative, and it felt intoxicating. When I spotted Alex across the room, chatting with another trainer, I couldn't help but feel a mix of satisfaction and indignation. He had no idea who I was or the storm that was about to unfold. I approached him with an easy smile, adopting the persona of a new client eager to get in shape. "Hey, I'm Harry," I said, extending my hand. "I'm here for the personal training session." "Nice to meet you, Harry," he said, his demeanor friendly and relaxed. "Let's get you started. I promise you're going to love it." As we moved to the workout area, I was acutely aware of every glance and whisper from other gymgoers. I had already told a few close friends that I'd be taking these sessions, and they promised to come and support me. I envisioned them arriving soon, ready to witness the unfolding drama. During the warm-up, I could feel the tension in my bodybuilding, not just from the physical exertion but from the realization of what I was doing. I was playing a part, and with each exercise, I could feel my anger simmering just beneath the surface. I focused on Alex's instructions, feigning enthusiasm and engagement while internally preparing for my moment of revelation. As we moved through the drills, I watched him carefully. There was an ease to his movements, a confidence that I had previously overlooked. I couldn't deny that he was good at what he did, but that only fueled my fire. He was good at using that charm to gain Beth's trust, and I would make sure he felt the consequences of that trust today. After a few more sets, I knew it was time to put my plan into action. I decided that I would reveal the truth in a way that left no room for denial. I glanced around the gym, looking for familiar faces, and my heart quickened as I saw some friends walking in. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. I raised my voice, a calculated blend of mock enthusiasm and feigned casualness, and said, "So, Alex, I've been hearing a lot about how you give your clients special treatment. Especially with my wife, Beth. She's been raving about how much progress she's making thanks to you." The room fell silent. All eyes turned toward me, and I could see Alex's expression change. A flicker of realization crossing his face. I could feel the energy shift in the gym, the anticipation hanging thick in the air. As I continued, "It's amazing how close you two have gotten during her training. I can't believe she found someone who helps her reach new heights both in fitness and, apparently, in personal matters." Laughter rippled through the crowd, and I felt a wave of satisfaction wash over me. This was the moment I had orchestrated, a public acknowledgement of betrayal that would leave Beth reeling. I watched as she walked through the door, her face paling as she caught sight of me and the scene unfolding before her. The expression on her face was priceless, a mix of shock, horror, and disbelief. In that instant, I felt a surge of power. My plan was working, and I knew this would be a moment she would never forget. As the laughter of our friends echoed around us, I understood that I had taken control of the narrative. I had turned the tables, and now it was time for Beth to face the consequences of her actions. The laughter that erupted from my friends echoed through the gym, filling the air with a charged energy that I had anticipated. I could feel the weight of their collective gaze on me and Alex as they processed the unfolding drama. Some chuckled, others looked utterly shocked, and a few exchanged knowing glances, unsure of how to react. It was a beautiful cacophony, a symphony of reactions that I had meticulously orchestrated. Beth's face was a canvas of emotions, each brushstroke telling a different story. Her cheeks flushed a deep crimson, a stark contrast against her usual poise. I had never seen her look so vulnerable, so exposed. It was a moment that I had envisioned countless times since I discovered her betrayal, and now that it was unfolding before my eyes, it felt surreal. Her eyes, once filled with confidence, were now wide with horror, darting between me and Alex, searching for a way out of this nightmare. As the laughter died down, a silence settled in, thick and palpable. My friends began to murmur amongst themselves. Their voices a mixture of disbelief and amusement. I could hear snippets of their conversations. Words like, "unbelievable," and, "did that really just happen?" floated through the air. The spectacle I had envisioned was coming to life, and I was at the center of it, reveling in the chaos I had created. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, exuding an air of casual confidence. I felt a surge of power as I watched the reactions unfold. This was my moment, the culmination of my plan to expose Beth and Alex for what they truly were. It was a moment that would be etched in everyone's memory, one that would forever change how they viewed our relationships. "Wow, Harry, I had no idea you were coming in for personal training today," shouted one of my friends, Lisa, her laughter ringing out again. "This is some next-level drama right here." Her playful tone broke the tension in the air, and I saw others nod in agreement, some stifling their laughter while others looked on, wide-eyed. I couldn't help but smile. I had turned what could have been a painful confrontation into an unexpected spectacle. And the thrill of it coursed through my veins. Beth's horror was palpable, and I felt a twisted satisfaction at the sight of her squirming under the weight of the truth. "Come on, Alex, you've got to be careful with your special attention," another friend chimed in, his tone laced with mock seriousness. "You never know when a husband is going to show up." The laughter erupted again, louder this time, as more friends joined in, eager to share their amusement at the absurdity of the situation. Beth's eyes were darting around the room, searching for support or perhaps even a shred of sympathy, but the more she looked, the more isolated she seemed. The realization began to dawn on her that this was not just a private matter, it had become a public spectacle, and there was no escaping it. I could see her struggling to regain her composure, her mouth opening and closing as if she were searching for the right words, but nothing came out. "Harry, let's just talk about this," she finally managed to say. Her voice trembling as she took a hesitant step toward me. But I was done talking. There was nothing left to say that could undo what had happened. I was in control now, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate the situation any longer. "Talk? Oh, I think we've talked enough, haven't we, Beth?" I replied, my tone light yet laced with a steel edge. "This is the moment where we show everyone how close you've gotten to your trainer. I just thought it was only fair for everyone to know." Her expression shifted, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the defiance in her eyes. But it was quickly swallowed by the dread of her reality. The tension in the room was electric, and I could feel the energy pulsating around us as our friends processed the unfolding drama. I knew they would be talking about this for weeks, perhaps even months. This would be the story that would circulate through our social circles, the tale that would overshadow everything else. A few of my friends shifted uncomfortably, glancing between Beth and me, while others continued to chuckle at the unfolding spectacle. I had never seen anything like it. Beth, usually the confident center of attention, was now the subject of their hushed whispers and smirks. I could see the realization settle in for everyone. This was more than just a personal betrayal, it was a public one. Finally, one of my friends, Mark, who had been watching quietly, broke the silence. "So, Alex, how do you feel about being called out like this?" he asked, a playful grin spreading across his face. "Does your training involve relationship advice too?" The laughter erupted again, and I could see Alex squirming under the unexpected scrutiny. I caught Alex's eye, and for a brief moment, we shared a look, a mix of confusion, embarrassment, and, perhaps, a hint of regret. He hadn't signed up for this level of drama, and I took a moment to relish the irony. He had taken my wife from me, and now he was caught in the very mess he had helped create. Beth's eyes flashed with anger, and she finally found her voice again, this time rising above the laughter. "This isn't fair, Harry. You can't just humiliate me like this," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with a mix of indignation and desperation. I raised an eyebrow, the corners of my lips curling into a smirk. "Oh, but it is fair, Beth. You made your choices, and now it's time for you to face the consequences. Everyone deserves to know the truth." At that moment, I knew my revenge had succeeded. I had taken back the narrative, turned the pain of betrayal into a public revelation, and reminded everyone, including Beth, of the weight of her actions. The laughter and whispers around me only reinforced my resolve. I had found my power in this chaotic moment, and I relished every second of it. As I stood there, the adrenaline coursing through me, I felt a strange sense of liberation. I had orchestrated this spectacle, and now Beth would have to live with the ramifications of her choices. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that I had finally taken control of my story. As laughter still echoed around the gym, I felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. The focus shifted, and I could see the anxiety etched on Alex's face. He had been caught in the crossfire of this explosive revelation, and I knew he was about to scramble for some semblance of dignity. It was time to put him in his place. "Harry, listen, man," Alex began, his tone defensive as he took a step toward me. The confident facade he usually wore was slipping, revealing a man cornered and unsure. "This isn't what it looks like. I never meant for any of this to happen. Beth and I were just—" I cut him off with a slow, deliberate smile, letting the silence stretch between us. "Just what, Alex? Training? Helping her reach new heights?" I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice as if sharing a secret with him. "We both know that's not the case. You had your sights set on something much more personal, didn't you?" The room was tense, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation as our friends watched intently, their eyes darting between me and Alex, eager for the next act in this unfolding drama. I savored the moment, relishing the power I felt as I held the reins of this narrative. Alex's brow furrowed in frustration, his jaw tightening. "Look, I get that you're hurt, and I understand why you'd be angry. But Beth and I had an affair," I interjected, my voice firm and unwavering. "Don't sugarcoat it, Alex. You've betrayed not just your client, but a friend. How does it feel to know that your little side project has blown up in your face? Did you think this would end well for you?" His expression shifted, a flicker of guilt flashing across his features before he tried to regain his composure. "I didn't mean for it to go this far, Harry. We were just working out together, and then things escalated. I never intended to hurt you." I let out a humorless laugh, shaking my head in disbelief. "Escalated? Is that what we're calling it now? You crossed a line, Alex. A line that you knew existed. And now you're trying to play the victim? How pathetic." The anger that had simmered within me was now bubbling over. But it felt different, more powerful, more focused. I took a step closer to him, feeling the adrenaline surging as I prepared to confront him head-on. "You think you can walk away from this unscathed? You've played a dangerous game, and it looks like you just lost." I watched as the color drained from his face, and for the first time, I saw fear flicker in his eyes. He was a trainer, a man who had built his reputation on helping others achieve their goals, yet here he was, caught in a mess of his own making. It was almost poetic, and I savored the irony. "Do you think this is going to end here?" I continued, my voice low and steady. You think your friends are just going to forget about this? Do you think I'll let you continue to train my wife? This is just the beginning for you. I won't rest until everyone knows exactly who you are. His mouth opened and closed as if he were trying to form a coherent response, but the words wouldn't come. I could see the realization settling in. This was more than just a personal issue between Beth and me. This was a public reckoning for him as well. Let's not pretend you're some innocent bystander in this, I said, my tone laced with disdain. You knew exactly what you were doing when you got involved with her. You took advantage of her trust in our relationship. And for what? A few stolen moments in the gym? The laughter and whispers around us began to fade, replaced by an uncomfortable silence as our friends absorbed the weight of my words. I could feel the tide turning, the momentum shifting in my favor. Alex was trapped, exposed, and vulnerable, and I was in control of this narrative. Listen, I never wanted it to come to this, he finally said, desperation creeping into his voice. It was a mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Spare me the apologies, I snapped, shaking my head. You should have thought about the consequences before you decided to betray someone's trust. Now you're going to have to face the fallout. The satisfaction I felt was intoxicating. Every word I spoke was a hammer striking the nail deeper into his coffin. I had transformed my pain into power, and it felt incredible to finally take a stand. Watching him squirm was a reward in itself, a vindication for all the hurt I had endured. Do you think Beth is going to choose you over me? I asked, my voice dripping with condescension. You're just a fling, a passing fancy. She's going to come to her senses, and when she does, I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember that you chose to step into my life and tear it apart, and now you're going to deal with the consequences. I took a step back, allowing the weight of my words to linger in the air. The atmosphere was electric, and I could sense the shift in my friends' perceptions of both Alex and Beth. I had not only exposed their betrayal but also shattered the facade they had built together. The truth was out, and there was no going back. As I turned to face my friends, I caught a glimpse of Beth, her eyes filled with tears as she watched the exchange unfold. She looked vulnerable and lost, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of compassion for her. But it was quickly overshadowed by the satisfaction of having confronted Alex. This was my moment, one that I had planned meticulously, and now it was coming to fruition in a way I had only dreamed of. I could feel my heart racing, not just from anger but from the thrill of reclaiming my power. I had stepped into a battle I never wanted to fight, and now I was winning. This was a moment I would remember forever, a confrontation that would mark the beginning of a new chapter in my life. One where I would no longer be a victim of betrayal but the architect of my redemption. As the evening wore on and the laughter began to fade, I could feel the atmosphere in the gym shifting. The excitement of the confrontation had left a residue of tension hanging in the air, but now, one by one, my friends began to trickle out, each of them still buzzing from the drama they had just witnessed. I watched them go, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and sadness. They had come to support me. But now it felt like I was standing on the precipice of a new reality, one where I would have to face Beth alone. When the last of our friends had said their goodbyes, the gym felt eerily quiet. The echo of their laughter lingered in the corners, but it was overshadowed by the heavy silence that settled between Beth and me. I could feel her presence beside me, a palpable weight that seemed to press down on my chest. My heart raced, but not from anger this time. It was a mixture of exhilaration and apprehension about what lay ahead. Beth stood a few feet away, her expression a tumult of regret and desperation. She took a tentative step toward me, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. Harry, please, let me explain, she said, her voice trembling slightly. You don't understand what happened. I held up a hand, cutting her off before she could continue. I wasn't ready to hear her excuses or justifications. I don't think there's anything you could say that would make this situation better, Beth. You've crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. You chose to betray me, to betray our marriage, and for what? A thrill? A fleeting moment of excitement? Her face paled as she realized the gravity of her actions. It wasn't like that. I didn't plan for any of this to happen. It just happened, she stammered, trying to find the right words, but I could see the panic rising in her eyes. She was scrambling for a lifeline, but I wasn't the one she needed to convince. Just happened, doesn't cut it, Beth, I replied, my tone steady but laced with a finality that I hoped would resonate with her. You made a choice. You chose to be with someone else, and now you have to live with the consequences of that choice. I felt a sense of strength building within me, a realization that this confrontation, this painful moment, was also a turning point. I had spent so long feeling powerless, drowning in the hurt and betrayal, but now I was reclaiming my narrative. I wasn't just a victim anymore, I was the author of my own story. I don't want to hear your excuses, I continued, my voice firm. You've hurt me in a way I never thought was possible, and standing here listening to you try to rationalize your actions feels like pouring salt into an open wound. Beth's expression shifted, her eyes pleading with me to understand, but I was done trying to comprehend the complexities of her feelings. I had spent too much time worrying about her and not enough about myself. You need to realize that this isn't just about you. It's about me, too. I need to protect myself from more pain. And I can't do that if I let you continue to pull at my heartstrings. I'm so sorry, Harry, she said, her voice cracking. I never meant to hurt you. I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong. Please, can't we talk about this? Can't we try to fix things? I could see the desperation in her eyes, and for a fleeting moment, I felt a pang of compassion. But that feeling was quickly overshadowed by the sense of clarity that had come from my confrontation with Alex and the public exposure of their betrayal. What we had is broken, Beth, I said softly but firmly. And I don't know if we can ever come back from this. I need time. I need space. I need to figure out what's next for me. The reality of my words hit us both like a wave, the air heavy with unspoken emotions. I could see her processing the enormity of what I was saying, her face a mix of sorrow and realization. I felt strong in that moment, stronger than I had felt in weeks. While revenge hadn't solved everything, it had given me a newfound sense of freedom. A liberation from the chains of betrayal that had bound me for too long. I don't want to continue this charade, I continued, my voice steady. I deserve better than to live in a relationship tainted by deceit. I need to find my way forward, and that means I can't have you in my life the way things were before. Tears spilled down her cheeks, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of empathy. I never wanted to hurt you, Harry. I truly didn't, she said, her voice breaking. You have to believe me. I met her gaze, trying to find a trace of the love we once shared, but all I could see were the memories of betrayal. I believe that you never thought about the consequences, I said slowly. But that's the issue, isn't it? You made choices without considering how they would affect us. And now I'm left to pick up the pieces. As I turned away, I could feel the weight of the past pressing down on me, but it was mixed with the exhilaration of a new beginning. I was ready to reclaim my life. To chart my course. I hope you find what you're looking for, Beth. But I can't be a part of that anymore, I said softly, my heart aching but resolute. With one last glance at her, I walked away, the sound of my footsteps echoing in the empty gym. I could still feel her eyes on me, filled with sorrow and regret, but I also felt the strength of my decision bolstering my steps. This was a moment of empowerment. A declaration that I would no longer allow myself to be defined by someone else's choices. As I reached the exit, I took a deep breath, the cool air refreshing against my skin. I stepped out into the night, feeling the weight of the world lift off my shoulders. Yes, the road ahead would be challenging, and the scars of this betrayal would take time to heal, but I felt free from the burden of betrayal, free to discover who I was outside of our relationship. At that moment, I knew I was ready to embrace whatever came next. The pain would fade, the wounds would heal, and I would emerge stronger than ever before. I had taken back my life, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope for the future. In the weeks that followed my confrontation with Beth, life began to shift in ways I had never anticipated. The weight of betrayal had been heavy, but as I stepped into the aftermath, I felt a sense of liberation that infused my days with newfound energy. It was as if a door had closed behind me, allowing fresh air to fill the void left by my old life. One of the first things I decided to do was refocus my career. The emotional turmoil I had endured had initially left me feeling disoriented, but as time went on, I realized how much I had suppressed my professional ambitions while trying to maintain a relationship that was ultimately toxic. With a renewed sense of purpose, I dove headfirst into my work. I sought out new projects at my job, ones that challenged me and pushed me out of my comfort zone. I started volunteering for leadership roles in team meetings and presenting ideas that I had previously kept to myself. To my surprise, my colleagues responded positively to my enthusiasm, and I quickly garnered a reputation for being not just capable but also inspiring. Within a few months, I received a promotion that came with both recognition and responsibility. It felt surreal to stand before my boss as she handed me the new title and responsibilities. I could feel my heart racing, not out of fear, but from an exhilarating sense of achievement. I had transformed my pain into fuel for my career, and I was finally on a path I had longed for, a path I could forge on my own terms. But professional success was only one piece of the puzzle. I also realized that I needed to reconnect with myself on a personal level. In the chaos of my previous relationship, I had lost sight of the things that brought me joy. So, I began to explore hobbies I had put aside for too long. I signed up for a photography class, something I had always been passionate about but never pursued seriously. The first time I held a camera in my hands again, I felt a rush of nostalgia and excitement. Each click of the shutter was a reminder of the beauty that still existed in the world, waiting to be captured. I started taking walks around the city, snapping pictures of everything from bustling street markets to quiet parks bathed in golden sunlight. I discovered a new way of expressing myself and a fresh lens through which to view my surroundings. With every photo I took, I felt more connected to my creative side. I began sharing my work on social media, and to my surprise, the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Friends and acquaintances began to comment on my posts, and soon, I found myself part of a community of fellow photography enthusiasts. This sense of belonging and shared passion filled the void that had lingered for so long. As I navigated this new chapter, I also decided to open myself up to new relationships. I had spent so long feeling shackled by my past, but now I was ready to embrace the possibilities that lay ahead. It wasn't long before I found myself on a few dates, exploring the dynamic of connecting with someone new. Each interaction was a step toward healing, a chance to rediscover the thrill of companionship without the baggage of betrayal. One particular date stood out. I met Emma at a local art exhibit. She was warm and engaging, and shared my newfound passion for photography. Our conversation flowed effortlessly as we wandered through the gallery, discussing everything from our favorite artists to our dreams for the future. With every laugh and shared story, I felt the weight of my past slowly dissipating. Emma brought a sense of lightness into my life, a refreshing reminder of the joys that could still be found in human connection. As our relationship blossomed, I realized how far I had come. Emma was understanding and supportive, never pressuring me to rush into anything. She encouraged my interests and shared her passions, creating a space where I felt safe to express myself fully. For the first time in a long while, I felt the warmth of intimacy without the shadow of betrayal looming over me. Through my journey of healing, I learned the importance of boundaries and communication. I wasn't just moving forward, I was evolving, discovering what it meant to love and be loved in a healthy, fulfilling way. In time, I found myself reflecting on my past relationship with Beth, not with anger or bitterness, but with understanding. I realized that while her actions had hurt me deeply, they had also propelled me toward growth. I had taken that pain and used it as a stepping stone, a catalyst for change that had ultimately led me to a happier, more authentic version of myself. Now, as I stood in my small but vibrant apartment, surrounded by my photographs displayed on the walls, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Life was far from perfect, but I had forged a new path for myself, one filled with promise, excitement, and love. The shadows of the past had given way to the vibrant colors of my present, and I was ready to embrace whatever the future held. With each passing day, I felt more at peace. I had transformed the heartbreak into strength, and I was eager to continue this journey of self-discovery. I realized that the best was yet to come, and for the first time in a long while, I looked forward to what lay ahead. Life was beginning to improve, and I was ready to seize every moment of it. One evening, as I sat on my balcony watching the sun dip below the horizon, my phone buzzed unexpectedly. I glanced at the screen and saw Beth's name flash before me. A mix of emotions flooded through me: surprise, curiosity, and a hint of apprehension. It had been months since our last conversation, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to hear her voice again. But something within me urged me to answer, perhaps out of a desire for closure, or simply because I wanted to know what she had to say. "Harry?" Her voice was soft, tinged with uncertainty. It took me a moment to respond, as memories of our past flooded back. "I didn't expect to hear from you," I finally managed, trying to keep my tone neutral. Beth took a deep breath, and I could almost picture her gathering her thoughts. I know it's been a while, and I've been doing a lot of thinking. I just wanted to reach out and see if we could talk about everything. I hope you're okay. The sincerity in her voice tugged at something deep inside me. Part of me wanted to unleash all the anger and hurt that had built up over time, to remind her of the pain she had caused. But another part recognized how much I had grown since that day in the gym, how much I had learned about myself and what I truly wanted. I'm fine, Beth, I replied, feeling surprisingly calm. I've moved on, and I hope you have too. Beth's voice trembled slightly as she continued. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for everything, Harry. I wish things had gone differently. Can we forget the past and start anew, even if it's just as friends? I miss our conversations and the good times we had. Her plea hung in the air, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of nostalgia. But then I reminded myself of the importance of boundaries and the lessons I had learned through the pain. At that moment, something shifted within me. I realized that I no longer needed to carry the weight of our past. I could finally release the anger and resentment I had held onto for so long. I appreciate your call, Beth, I said slowly, but I think both of us should leave the past behind. I found peace in my life, and I hope you can too. As I hung up the phone, a wave of relief washed over me. It felt as though a heavy burden had been lifted from my shoulders, and I knew I had finally let go of the situation for good.